Despite the fact that the car has a large number of advantages, it is not without its disadvantages. There are also quite a lot of them. Some of these may be considered subjective or rare occurrences related to improper operation or driving style. But they must be taken into account if you want to purchase this car. After all, sometimes it is better to refuse to buy it and look for another option if the shortcomings seem significant. These disadvantages usually include the following features of the machine. Impossibility to buy new. The model was discontinued several years ago. Therefore, now you can only buy it used. But, if you take a car from a Japanese auction or in Russia and carefully check it before purchasing, you can easily find options in good technical condition, with low mileage and requiring virtually no investment. Right-hand drive. The model was produced primarily for the domestic market, so it has a right-hand steering wheel. This may be inconvenient for some motorists. Buying a special camera that improves visibility when overtaking will help solve the problem. You can also redo the steering wheel. But this solution is expensive. Therefore, resorting to it is inappropriate. If it is impossible to get used to the right-hand drive, then it is better not to buy this car. Low ground clearance. The minivan is designed to travel only on asphalt roads. When driving even on slight off-road or bad roads, there is a high probability of damage to bumpers or suspension parts. This is a design feature of the model, which is almost impossible to eliminate. Therefore, if such operation is planned, it is advisable to look for another option. The variator has a small resource and its expensive maintenance. Failure of the variator even at low mileage is a common breakdown of the Toyota Ractis. The resource of this unit is small, and its repair or replacement is not cheap. Therefore, when purchasing this car, you should take into account the likelihood of such expenses. Strict adherence to operating rules and timely maintenance, which can be quite expensive, can only slightly extend the life of a CVT. Low power engines. Toyota Ractis does not differ in engine power. There is no way to fix this. Therefore, it is not worth buying for those who prefer fast and sporty driving. This is not what the model was created for. Poor quality sound insulation. Some owners consider the sound insulation of this car to be insufficient. If this seems to be a significant drawback, installing additional protection against extraneous sounds will help correct the situation. Cheap interior plastic. It is believed that it can wear out quite quickly. Replacing the finish with a tuning one will help fix the problem. But this may not be the cheapest pleasure. Insufficient dynamics. Some car enthusiasts are confident in the poor dynamics of this car. But this opinion is subjective. Of course, it is not a sports car, but with its modest characteristics, due to its low weight, it drives quite briskly. Increased fuel consumption. Despite the fact that the minivan is considered economical, some motorists complain about considerable fuel consumption. But this is a subjective opinion or is associated with technical malfunctions of a particular car or driving style. Unsuccessful variator settings. It is believed that the variator is not configured correctly, which prevents the car from accelerating too quickly. But this is most likely not the case. Not very fast acceleration is largely due to the low power of the engines. Therefore, if you need a faster car, it is better to choose another option. Sometimes flashing the engine and changing the CVT settings from a competent specialist can help save the situation a little. But you shouldn't expect impressive results. Stiff suspension. This judgment is subjective. While some motorists are not happy with this, others consider this chassis ideal. Demanding on fuel quality. The model is recognized as being quite demanding on the quality of gasoline. Therefore, it is recommended to refuel it at proven gas stations of well-known brands. When going to an unfamiliar area, it is advisable to take a canister of high-quality fuel with you or check in advance the location of reliable gas stations along the route. This will help avoid complex and costly engine and fuel system problems. Unpopularity of the model in Russia. With the exception of the Far East, the car is not very well known in our country. This may cause problems when reselling or repairing it. Despite the simplicity of the design, the model has some nuances that are not familiar to all car service employees. Therefore, when buying Ractis, you should check in advance where it can be properly serviced and repaired nearby. In addition, you need to be prepared that if you want to sell, you should not wait for the car to sell too quickly. High cost of body parts. Spare parts for Toyota Ractis body repairs are not cheap. But this applies mainly only to parts that are sold in Russia. Ordering the necessary contract spare parts from Japan often helps to reduce the cost of restoring a car after a traffic accident. Difficulties with the availability of some parts in certain regions of the country. Due to the unpopularity of the model in our country, in some regions difficulties with the supply of spare parts or consumables for scheduled maintenance cannot be ruled out. Therefore, if repairs are planned, it is better to pre-order everything you need in Russia or from Japan. In the current situation in the country, buying a Toyota Ractis can be an excellent option for those who dream of a compact minivan for family and other purposes. If the buyer is ready to put up with the above shortcomings, he will receive a comfortable and reliable car that will serve him for many years without requiring significant expenses. If possible, it is better to buy a used car from a Japanese auto auction through reliable intermediaries. If you decide to buy a car in our country, you should carefully check it before purchasing. You should not buy cars that are too old or have a huge mileage or an incomprehensible history. It is better to choose the version of the latest years of production for this model.